Hello everyone. Today we will come back to the C++ unit test, and in this tutorial I will show you about how to program a unit test function and unit test with parameter and the symbol test using the Google Test Framework. First, I will introduce for you about the Google Test Framework. In the Google Test Framework, we have three types of the testing function. The first is the test useful when you want to write unit test for static or the global function or the symbol class. There are some examples about how to using the test function in the Google Test Framework. The first, for example, we need to check the static cast method, or in there we need to test the symbol case. So in there we have the test case for verify the behavior of the format file location. So the summary of the test is used for the static and the global function or the symbol class, and the test F used for when you need to set object or the subroutine in the unit test. For example, in there we need to check the streaming listen in the test, and we create a behavior of the function to verify the stream listener test. And the test P useful when we would test with a parameter. In test of the writing a multiple tests with different value of the parameter, you can write one test using the test P and get the parameter, and it can be initialized using the initialize test source P. For example, in there, you don't want to create a lot of initialization of the value. We just to create the test B function there, and we use initiate the test source P for input the value to the function for testing. And there the link for a tutorial for you about how to using the Google Mock for testing with the Google Framework test. In there we have a lot of we'll have a lot of function, and we'll have a lot of feature of the Google test for the complex function, mocking variable or protective method. In there we had a full function, and then we create a mock full function, and there the mock method for create the mock object and mock class. There we had many way for using the mock overload method, class template, non-volatile method free function. And the interface without the brackets in Go. Or we had an alternative to the mocking grade class. So in the testing process, you can use this tutorial for reference. So now I will create a basic symbol for testing with the Google test framework. Uh, in the previous, I created a simple symbol of the Google test framework, and in the first run, as you can see, uh, in there we have no the test case and have no class for testings. But in the first, the setup function of the Google test framework, it was the first, and when I finish, the global test environment will tear down. Okay, in the first, for example, I will create a struct. For example, struct the bank account. In the bank account, we have some method and some attribute, and this is the constructor. And we just to create, for example, the balance, and we initialize the balance value. There is the balance, the constant balance, and when call the bank account, the balance will initialize the value in there. So we create a deposit function, and in the deposit function, I will throw the amount in there, and the balance is equal the plus of the amount and the bool function. The bool function in there, we have the withdraw. In the withdraw, we create input the parameter in amount, and workflow function will implement in so okay, as you can see, we have the two methods, two constructor and one parent attribute. So now if we need to test the band outcome class or the struct, today I use struct for demo. So we just to create the band count test, and the count test will inherited from the testing framework of the Google. So for example, in there we created an object of the account, and in the first we created constructor. We create a constructor of the band account test, and in the band account test we will to create an object of the band account, and in the structure of the band account test, you need to delete the pointer of the band account. So this is the band account test of us, and in the first I will create a test case for account test, and in there we use the test function of the Google test framework. For example, we create a band account test, and in the first we test the band account start with empty. So for example, in there we create a bank account test, or so in there the first I will test the bank account object, and there we use an aspect equal function. Aspect equal function, for example, in the first I will so the first we will test the bank account, and the failed test case, we had a failed case. So you need to debug. In the first week, the balance is equal to 0.845, and in the best expectation value is 0, and in this test case we see the failed test case, and in there I will initialize the balance, and now we'll run again. Okay, as you can see, the bank account start with empty have the successful basket gate. So this is the first tutorial. Yes, in the next, for example, in the last step, the bank account test, I will test the bank account test with star empty, and we use the test function. And in there, we use the bank account test last, and with the bank account test, we just set the bank account raw empty. So we will expect equal function, and we test the count parents. So we run again. Just see a test case for bank account that start with empty using a vertical test. Because the initial balance value is equal 0, so this gate is passive. So in now we test the deposit function. And with the account object will come to deposit function, and in there, for example, we initialize the value is 100, and in there we have the balance is 100 and as registration value. That's okay. When you input the 100 there, the balance will equal 100. So this is testing using the test function and the test method. So now I will demo for you about how to using the test P with the parameter for testing. For example, in there we create a count, the count state, and in the count state we have for state initial first the now the final value and the boolean of the success value. So in there we create, for example, we create the friendly of the std. It's just to include the std library for using the OS string. And there we have the operator, and in the object. And in this operator we use return the above string, and in the above string in the first we output the initialized elements, and in there we create it. So now we need to test this struct. The first I will create the struct. For example, in the withdraw account class, and withdraw account tag will be inherited from the data account. And in there we just input with the parameter interface, and the parameter the account state. And in there, for example, we create in this class we just do create a withdraw account test function, and in there we have the account and point to the parents. For example, we just do assign the balance of the account, and in there we get a parameter, and we get the initialized balance in there. So in there we use the test parameter for testing the withdraw account test class method. Withdraw account test, for example, in there we test the the final column. Okay, in there, the first, if you need to test with the test parent function, the first we need to using the initialize, using instant test p, and in an instant test p, we need to input some the parameter. For example, in there, you define was from count test just to test for withdraw count in there, and we're testing the value. Testing the value, and in the value, we need to input some the parameter of the for input to the final parent test, and for example, in there we'll create random other value. For example, can say so. Okay, and we initialize the first value, the initialize value, withdraw amount, and final balance, and success or not. So to get the parameter, for the test, we need to use the get param function for get the param in there, and in there we create a success variable, and the success variable will receive the value from the withdraw function of the account test class, and in there we use the parameter to get the withdraw amount, and in there we expect to shape equal. In there, the first we test the final column, and the count. The final balance will equal the count balance, and in the expectation value, we have a success. Okay, now we'll run the test case. Till test case fail, you get parameter. So now we just need to debug. In there, the first the x will give will receive the value from the initial function. And in there, success is 4. The first success is true, after that success is 4. But in this case, we had a success 4, and this is a failed case. So what you get to the you get a withdraw with a failed case. Go to the withdraw, and in the previous I have no implementation for the withdraw, and when you input the email in there, we have no the return the value, we have no return value. So in there we create a logic code for if the mail is smaller than parent. In there we'll have a parent e. If not, we just return 4. If the mail smaller than balance, balance is divide with the mail and return the true. If not, return a false. So now I run the test here again. Okay, we had a 3-box test case. Now we debug. The S value will give the success true, and in there success false. And when the mail input to the mail equal the 50, and now the amount is smaller than balance, and we have the balance with, and in this case it returns true. So the balance equal the 50. And now we have the return true in there, and we had the first decade. And in the next further we have the mail equal to 200. After ML, ML is equal to 200, and the mail is equals ML is equal in there. ML is the withdraw amount, and we got input the withdraw amount there, and in there the input value is 2000, and now balance is 100, and the balance amount not smaller than balance, and in this case return a false. Okay, and now we have to say for, and in this case we have the basket case. Okay, in this tutorial I will show you about how to using the test parameter and the test function and the task, the symbol of the class. So thank you for watching.